Hello and welcome to this week's assembly. Have any of you ever been caught in a really, really bad storm? This storm you're thinking of, was it thundering and lightning? Was it very windy? How heavy was the rain? How did you feel during the storm? Were you frightened? Now, have any of you ever heard of these and what they mean? Dogger Bank, German Bight, Forties, Rockall. I'll be surprised if you have heard of them. Well, they're shipping areas. And every day on the radio, you can listen to a shipping forecast so that sailors out in the ocean can know what the weather is going to be. Because seas and lakes are subject to sudden changes in weather and bad storms. Well, our story today is about a group of men that were caught on a lake in a very, very bad storm. The lake is quite big and it's surrounded by mountains. You might have heard of it. It's called Lake Galilee. Sometimes people called it the Sea of Galilee because it was so big. But really, it's a freshwater lake. In fact, it's the lowest freshwater lake in the world and the second lowest lake of any kind in the world. It's quite long, 21 kilometres, which is 13 miles, and quite wide, 13 kilometres, which is 8 miles. Its maximum depth is about 43 metres. One day, Jesus was speaking by this lake, Lake Galilee. He was on the shore and he was surrounded by people, and there were so many people there that many of them couldn't see him. And so he asked one of his disciples who owned a boat to put the boat out a little bit out into the sea so that people could hear him better and so more of them could see him. And there Jesus sat and he taught them. He taught them about God and told them stories. You've known some of them because of the parables we did last term. And he'd been teaching all day. And by the end of the day, he was very, very tired. Although Jesus loves spending time with people, sometimes he needed time to be alone and time to rest. Do you need time to rest sometimes? And do you like having time on your own sometimes? It's quite important, really. So Jesus and his disciples decided that they would cross over the other side of the lake. Remember, it's 13 miles long and 8 miles wide. Now, the disciples thought this was a great idea because they were tired too, and they were looking forward to going away from all the people so that they can have a rest and have a little bit of quiet. Now, can you remember how many disciples Jesus had? I expect you can. It's 12. Now, 4 of them were Andrew, Peter, James and John, and they were fishermen. So it was probably one of their boats that Jesus was in. And so the disciples put out across the lake and started going to the other side. Now, they were very pleased because the weather was calm and it was quite a peaceful journey to start with. Jesus was so tired that he fell asleep and lay on a cushion in the boat. Now, as they travelled partway across the lake, the disciples noticed a little black cloud in the sky. Soon, that black cloud changed to a huge, big cloud. And soon, it started to rain. And the wind got up. The wind got stronger and stronger. The rain got heavier and heavier. And the waves started being whipped up. The waves became so big that they were filling the boat And the disciples, although they were experienced fishermen, were scared. And it got worse. And in fact, the disciples thought they were going to drown. They thought the boat was going to capsize. And so they woke Jesus up. He was still asleep in the middle of all the noise of the wind and the rain. He slept. Jesus, Jesus! They woke him up shouting, "Don't you care? We're going to drown." Jesus woke up. When he saw the storm, he was still not afraid. He looked at the wind and the waves, and he spoke to them. He said, "Quiet, be still." And guess what? The rain stopped, the wind stopped, the lake became calm. The disciples looked at Jesus in amazement. Jesus looked at his disciples and said, "Why were you so afraid? Where is your faith?" The disciples knew that Jesus was very special. They knew that he was the only one that could make a storm obey him. Now, storms can be very, very strong. Think of the ones you've experienced. Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Can you remember at the start of the term, we said that there are 3 categories of miracles. Healings. Jesus raised the dead, 3 people, different times. And thirdly, power over nature. And this miracle fits into that category. The storm was very frightening for the disciples. Sometimes things happen that make us frightened. It might be storms, it might be loud noises, it might be certain animals like dogs or spiders. It might be other things like the coronavirus. There may be lots of other things. We might face all sorts of storms in our lives, problems and difficulties and challenges. For example, we might have setbacks. Things might not go as well as we want them to. We might fall out with friends. We might be ill, or family or friends might have a serious illness. All these are problems that we face, and there's a lot of other ones too. Christians believe that Jesus is with them wherever they go and whatever happens to them, whatever they go through. As Jesus was in the boat with his disciples, Christians believe that Jesus is with them in their lives to help them through the difficulties. They might not see him, but he's there with them. And anyone can talk to God and ask for help with their problems. Sometimes we have storms raging inside us, don't we? Have you ever felt angry recently? Have you felt afraid recently? Have you felt worried recently? What about sad? Have you felt sad recently? Or lonely perhaps? Now, if these things are going on around us or within us, it can be really good to talk to somebody about them. We need to be brave to do that because it's not easy, but it's really a good idea to tell somebody about problems that we're going through. It really is a help to share our worries and our fears. Now, you need to do that with someone you can trust, like a mum or a dad, a grandparent, a family member, a close friend, perhaps a teacher or a TA, some person that you can trust. Christians believe that God is with them throughout their lives, and they believe that they don't face any situation on their own. God is always with them. I would like to finish the story before we have a little quiz by saying a very short prayer. And if you agree with the prayer and you want to make it your own, say amen with me at the end. Dear God, please help us when times are difficult. Help us when we feel there's a storm going on inside us. Help us to be brave and to talk to someone who can help us. Amen. Okay, we've got 8 questions, a total of 11 points, because one question you could possibly get 4 points. Some are easy, some are hard. Question 1. What was the name of the stretch of water? What was the name of the stretch of water? Number 2. About how wide was this stretch of water? Make sure you don't get muddled up between the length and the width. Number 3. Why was Jesus in the boat at the start of the story? Before they set sail across the lake, why did he get into the boat? Number 4. Where did Jesus and the disciples decide to go at the end of the day when they were tired? Number 5. I named 4 disciples that were fishermen whose boat it might have been. Can you name them? You can have a point for each one. Number 6, an easier one. What was Jesus doing when the storm started? Number 7, how did Jesus calm the storm? Number 8, what category of miracle is this one put in, the calming of the storm? Remember, there's 3 categories. What category is this one in? Okay, let's see how you got on then. What was the name of the stretch of water? You can get a point for either Lake Galilee or Sea of Galilee. It's the same thing. 2, about how wide is the Lake Galilee? It's about 13 kilometres, 8 miles, that is. Number 3, why was Jesus in the boat at the start of the story? He got in the boat to teach people. So something like that, to teach people, so that the crowd could see him better. Something like that would get you a point. Number 4, where did Jesus and the disciples decide to go in the boat? The answer is the other side of the lake. Okay, number 5. This is where there's 4 points on offer. The 4 disciples who were fishermen was Peter, Andrew, James and John. So a point for any of those that you mentioned. Number 6. What was Jesus doing when the storm began? He was asleep. And number 7. How did Jesus calm the storm? He spoke to it, told it to be quiet. A word like that would be a point. And finally, number 8, what category of miracle is this one in? It is in power over nature or control over nature. Okay, I hope you got on well, and I hope you have a really good half-term break, which will be coming up soon at the end of the week, I think it is. And I hope to be, I look forward to seeing you next term. Bye. Bye.